We are now going to be moving on to a marketing for e-commerce panel. Just a little bit of a switch in our schedule because one of our speakers actually has a flight to catch. So as they set up, I guess, on the side, yeah, I just want to take this time to thank our sponsors again, because without them, our partners would not, I'd like to thank our partners because without them, this conference really would not have been possible. So E-Tailing India Expo has been powered by IBM, Yes Bank, EB, Ixla E-Tail Solutions, Markjack, Unicommerce, Dynaflex, Amura Consults. Our E-Tailing India's knowledge partners are Comscore, Internet Retailer, and our social media partner is Facebook. Our technology partner is EB. Our e-commerce partner is eBay.in. Our industry partners are BIA and RAI. Our packaging partner is Dynaflex. Online marketing partner is Octanes.in. Our jewelry platform partner is Centerac. Our mentorship partner is The Hatch, T-Labs, 5 Ideas. Our funding partner is Seed Fund, and our online media partner is Get It. So really, let's have a round of applause for our partners, because without them, this would not have been possible. Session brings together leaders in online marketing to discuss the state of online marketing in India, as well as to look at the major challenges that are faced by marketing heads, in addition to the major opportunities. So we have a panel of very distinguished speakers, so I'd like to introduce them to you. Our first panelist is Virjinia Sharma, the VP of Marketing and Communications, IBM India and South Asia. So Virginia, if you can please make your way up. And I'd like to thank IBM again for powering this conference, so a big thank you there. Our next panelist is Manish Vij, the head of Van Networks and Tyru. Manish, welcome. And our third panelist is Mr. Siddharth Gupta, the CEO of Get It. So welcome, Siddharth. Great. And our moderator for this session is Mr. Harminder Sahani, the founder and MD of Wazir Associates. So, Mr. Sahani, please make your way up. Thank you. All right, great. So that is your panel for the marketing and e-commerce session, and I'll hand it over to Mr. Sahani.
Thank you. Good afternoon, friends. Good morning, actually. Maybe I have been up too early this morning. It feels like the day is almost over. See, the subject which we are discussing, we have around 45 minutes to discuss that, and I believe we could have taken maybe 45 hours or 45 years to figure that out. And if given the opportunity to my fellow panelists here, who are all very distinguished and have a lot of experience, and we spent more than 40 minutes just preparing for the 45 minutes panel, and we could have gone on and on. And very interesting topic, marketing of e-commerce. And when I received it, because I am not the one who decided, Ashish chose it for us that this is what we should be talking about. So marketing e-commerce, it sounded like we are discussing that how to make e-commerce more acceptable to the consumers and how do we take it out to them. But is there somebody out there who owns e-commerce, or is there some authority there who will have the responsibility and the budget to market e-commerce? So actually what we are discussing is that how e-commerce should be marketed by the people whose actual job is to market their own online stores or the brands which they are trying to sell online. That's an added responsibility in a way which is falling on the shoulders of online retailers, that they have to first sell e-commerce to the consumers, market it to them, and then probably hope so that these people will either come to their stores or come to their online stores to buy their brands or the brands which they are wanting to sell. So if I have to now talk to my panelists, and the big questions which I have and which have been listed also in the agenda, that how do we go about doing it? How should we, which channels we should be using, which kind of strategies we should be using, and how do we allocate our funds, limited or unlimited for that matter, depending on who are we talking to. We should be putting all that money to market e-commerce and our online businesses. And if I have to set the stage, I look at online business. Most of us come from the offline world. Online is such a new phenomenon. When back in 98, 99, Indian retailing started getting organized and the first few malls were coming up. So big question, most of the people who were in the business of marketing and branding, they had whether consumers will still stick to the traditional markets or they will start shopping in the malls. And I think somewhere around 2005 or 6, it took 7, 8 years, and by that time, this whole question became irrelevant. That yes, people will go to the malls and they will do their purchasing from the convenience stores and traditional markets as well. The categories will change, their demands will change, and the shopping missions, there are different shopping missions people will figure out, consumers will figure out, and they will use each of these channels or the markets to do what they want to do. So it's not up to the industry or it's not up to the panels like us to figure it out for the consumer whether they will choose malls or whether they will choose traditional markets or the stores. I think we are at a similar stage in case of online, offline, because these are the words we keep on coming across during all these kind of discussions, and otherwise also when we are advising clients. And I believe online and offline are nothing but the different channels to reach out the consumer. It's because of the technology, internet, because of the connectivity, because of the, let's say, whatever changes are coming in the consumer minds also in the market. This is another channel which has become available to reach out to the consumer. Howsoever, because the technology is such a big player in this whole game, and the investment and the funding is such a big game, it's a very different set of people who are bringing online retail to the consumers versus the offline retailers. And now somewhere there's an overlap happening, but still these are two different sets of people who are trying to reach to the same customer who doesn't think differently about online and offline. So the people who are shopping online are the people who are shopping offline as well. And the people who are shopping only offline, chances are they will very soon start shopping online as well. Not that everybody will do. And that's not true for anything. It's only part of the consumers who will change their behavior, part of the consumers who will be able to convert. But whether today it's 1%, 5%, or tomorrow it will be 75%, only time will tell. And it's not going to happen organically, as marketers will have to do a lot of stuff there. And that's where the different strategies, different ways of reaching out comes in. How the malls were marketed? Nobody marketed malls. Nobody, if you really think about it. Was there any campaign which went out saying that, oh, please go and shop in malls? No. The malls were there, and it was convenient, and they're beautiful, they are air-conditioned, they give you so much security, you just park once and then you shop around. People lapped it up. And there's so many malls, I can share with you examples where they were written off in the first 1 or 2 years that these malls are disasters. And they have failed and they will be converted into office spaces, and some of those malls are doing extremely well. Right? Because the consumers have evolved, those malls, they changed their methodology. And yes, the last step, if you look at the last 2-3 years, in Orbit Mall in Bombay, or whether you look at Forum in Bangalore, or whether you look at Ambience or Select City in Delhi, they started marketing themselves. So marketing is extremely, extremely important. Otherwise, you can wait for things to happen while you're not pulling people or not pushing people towards what you are trying to do. So now, first, Manish, I would like to ask you this specific question. How do you see marketing of e-commerce, and how do you see the role of online marketing in that? Because there could be various ways in which you can market something. So how online itself offers itself as a platform or a channel to market e-commerce to the consumer, and how effective do you find that?
So one of the comments before I start answering your question is that, in my opinion, and again this is, I mean, malls certainly don't require marketing because they buy a very expensive real estate, and in my opinion, that in itself, that investment in itself is a form of marketing. Whereas if you look at the online world, you have to reach out to consumer because there is not a real estate which you buy where people come in and you need to shop. So now if I come back from what are the various ways to, so over the last 2 years, I mean, we have seen a lot of television advertising, we've seen online. So there are many, all are the ways of marketing. You can do online, you can do television, you can do affiliate, you can do search engine optimization, search engine marketing. I mean, these are very obvious ways of doing it. It really depends on your category, on your traffic, in terms of what is the right mix to use for a successful marketing strategy. It is one of the highest spend for any e-commerce company. So therefore, the companies who are unsuccessful somewhere go wrong about it. But I think cracking that right mix is very important using these various channels on online. So there is no one specific magic wand that can be driven to say, you know what, do this right, and you will be able to kind of do a great set of online marketing.
I'll still stay with you on this point, but still so many online retailers, they continue to spend enormous amount of money or larger chunk of their marketing budgets to market online, advertise online, send emailers or appear as banner ads online. Isn't it in a way saying that we in the online world, we are different species altogether? We live online, so we talk to online people, we market to online people, and I hear a lot of people from that world, of online world, reacting to all this money being spent by some of the online retailers on TV and in the other media, saying, what the hell are they trying to do? Why are they wasting so much money on TV? It's a very, very expensive media, and why are they wasting so much money? And there's no direct cause and effect which you can see. So do you see that in your day-to-day interaction with people, that is there something, or am I reading too much into it?
No, I don't think, in fact, yesterday there was a very good comment made that in India, I think it is the width which is more important than the depth, because the depth is somehow not increasing. So a consumer is buying as much as he was buying like 10 years back as well. So the width is increasing. So I think television advertising was very important. Television reaches out today to about 500 million users, where internet in itself uses, reaches out to about 100 million users. And television in some way forms credibility in the consumer mind. So television is very important. Can television directly, can we see the what has resulted in results? Absolutely. So when we used to do television advertising for our e-commerce platform or company, Let's Buy, we used to clearly see what is the increase in direct traffic, and we used to do what is the cost per increase in direct traffic. So even any form of advertising, in my opinion, I mean, there shouldn't be a marketing manager in an e-commerce company. I mean, the designation he should be a chief analytics officer, because I think where people go wrong, a lot of people go wrong in marketing for e-commerce, is that the attention to detail is very low. Whereas in digital marketing, it is all about attention to detail. And it is all about data points. It is all, so whether you are hitting any channel for that matter, it is about that data point in terms of what it is resulting back, and whether it is, like I said, any channel for that matter. And it is waste of money is when you cannot see any form of advertising not impacting the data point. So yes, then it's waste. But if it is impacting any data point, whether it is visitors or consumer conversions, etc., then any form of marketing can do well for digital.
Okay, thanks, Manish. Virginia, coming to you and taking off from the points which we have been discussing. In general, when you talk to advertising people and some of the people who have been very successful in building brands and marketing, while it's said in a lighter vein that 10% of advertising works, and which 10% nobody knows. So while in case of e-commerce, and Manish once again emphasized on that point, that we are always looking for some data points to move, right? While in the real world, when people are building brands, they still believe that 10% works, which 10% nobody knows. 90% is out there, but still it works. So many brands are being created every single day. So many brands are being relaunched, and many brands are actually being revived by using advertising and using the same formula of a 10 and 90. What's your take on this when we come into the e-commerce world? How does this change, and how should our, let's say, friends here who are in the online business and in the e-commerce business, what should they be taking back from our discussion?
Okay, great. Well, thank you for the opportunity. So I'm going to take sort of a holistic perspective for any brand, launching any brand, or any channel for that matter. When you're at that education stage or the acquisition stage of clients, investors do understand that there's amount of threshold funding you have to do to acquire a base of customers and to get a base amount of education out there. I think the reason why sort of online retailers still need to do advertising, maybe not in the way it's being done, is to just create awareness of the channel, right? And unfortunately for us, the burden falls on this group of people to make that market, right? Unlike auto or cars or four-wheelers, where you launch a new car now, there's someone somewhere back, 15 years ago, created a market for something outside the ambassador. They did that legwork, they spent the money, now you're willing to go beyond that. We're not in that luxury. I also think it's a privilege to make a market. Not very many industries get to be at that stage because they get to define what it is that we're selling. But where we fall short is that we stop there, right? We continue to spend on the acquisition and the education, and shame on us if we don't convert that to our advantage in online retailing. What I mean by that is, what is the completely unique benefit of going online? It's building on Manish's point, it's the ability to capture behavior, capture data, capture what the consumer is doing. Now, what is the difference between an online retailer and offline? Once someone comes into a store, you don't really have, unless you have a chip on them and RFID all over, to know exactly what they did, right? You don't know necessarily why they bought what they bought. Online, you can build that persona or that profile. So what I really think is, once you spend that threshold amount, spend that 10%, the 90% needs to be spent on basically falling in love with the data, falling in love with the analytics. But going further from analytics is just falling in love with the technology. And the problem that we have is in online, you probably see this in the skills, right? You have people who love the technology and people who love marketing. What you really need is people in marketing who love the technology. Build these personas and spend the money on now selling to those personas, right? And not keep going back to selling on those ads. So the question is, are marketeers using the data to build the personas, campaign management solutions, analytics, building communities? Can they tell who is the influential buyer who can then go talk to 20 others? That's the kind of insights that you can discover.
Very well said. Only thing I'll add is that we would like to have people who are technologists and who start loving marketing as well, not the only way around. Siddharth, we were discussing just before we came in, and your point was that while online stores are marketing themselves, while from a consumer's point of view, at the end of it, he's looking for a particular brand or particular product. So all this effort which is being put in to build online retail brands, what does it lead to? So would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah. So I think if you look at the context of marketing an e-commerce destination, you've got to separate traffic from marketing. So, traffic, there are classic ways of building traffic, and, Manish and his company, etc., can really help you, and, companies like ourselves, can help you bring on lots of traffic onto your platforms. But I think the motivations when somebody is going online to buy and when somebody goes offline to buy are quite different, and marketers need to understand that. So in the classical offline retail sort of space, the first thing a marketer looks for or a company looks for, that's what they say, is location, location, location. So the motivation of a store first is a location. Then on you build what kind of merchandise you have and so on and so forth. So the experience comes later, the location comes first, right? People enter the store first and then look at the products next, and they do the checkout finally, right? In the online space, the motivation cannot be location. The motivation to build a store is very, very different. So how do you get traffic onto your online store? People don't come to your store first and look for products. People look for products first, then they come to your store. So I think, it turns on its head when you look at online and when you look at offline, because by the virtue of the medium, how consumers use it, not because they're thinking online is different or offline is different, just by the virtue of the medium, it's very, very different. So you can have 100 years of experience in online and offline retail, and that's fantastic because you know what styles are in vogue and so on and so forth. But unless you understand the media of online, you will find it very, very hard to make that transition to be a successful offline retailer and a successful online retailer. And there's going to be that void. When it comes to online, as very, very rightly said by Virjinia and Manish, is data, because the, classically, it's said that some of the most famous and most sort of successful retailers, just stand on their store and observe people shop. You can't do that online. So the only way you do that is through data. Online enables you to do that without having to spend the whole day standing there and observing people. So I think if you understand these two differences, then you can figure out how much to build traffic and how much to spend on TV and how much to spend on radio and what to do and what not to do. I think these are the two fundamental issues when it comes to online and offline retail.
Data, I don't want to jargonize data a little bit. It is the reason why Marwadis are very successful even in online e-commerce as well is that data मतलब पड़ता मतलब ₹1 डाल के कितने महीने में कमाना है वो वापस ₹1 or 1 के 2 या whatever, those are all your thing. I think that is the simple maths. I mean, you can, and then that simple maths is jargonized with analytics and data and all that not. But maths very simple hai. And that is the reason some e-commerce companies are successful and some are not successful. कि वो पड़ता निकालना बहुत ज़रूरी है. And that whole पड़ता will from whichever channel it is coming from, visits have to convert into conversion and give you the money back. Period.
No, absolutely right. And I think, Siddharth, you made a very valid point that most successful retailer, and starting from, I would say, the granddad of retailing, Sam Walton, he used to spend all his time in the stores. And if he had this online data available, chances are he not only would have saved some trouble, he would have been far more successful than he was otherwise. So I fully agree with that availability and the analysis of data. And the Marwadis will be successful anyway, data or no data. That's proven beyond doubt. So that's another reason for them, or maybe we are looking for a reason there. Yeah, Virginia.
Yeah, but let me just add one nuance that I find amongst my team as well. They are marketeers who are strong on operational data that can help you justify anything and everything that you want to do in marketing. So if you're running a business and your marketeer is overly smart with the data, they can convince you to spend on things and do things because you can make the data say anything. When I think of analytics, I think about studying behavior. It's almost a way to stand and watch your stores to basically understand your customer better versus understanding where the money's coming from. So there is a big temptation with marketeers to become operational people, right? To show the numbers and justify, we spent this much on advertising and we got this much back. Encourage your marketeers to actually use the data to give insights on what customers are doing versus why their spending made sense. A lot of it is a defense mechanism. We want to get more budgets from the VCs to say, hey, look, we spent and we got this much back. So it's a little bit of a risk with data. Data can also be trigger happy on bad things.
Absolutely. No, statistics, old saying, statistics can be used either way. So, and I think good people or good marketers, they will understand this part. That why I use the example of Sam Walton. I say so is the largest company in the world. It could have been even bigger and not be threatened by Amazon in next 10, 20 years if Sam Walton had that. So it's a good marketer having good data and a good businessman and then creating a very, very good successful enterprise on that basis. And technology is so available to everybody now today. But coming back to our core subject of marketing, right? When people are online, when they're shopping, you can observe them, all of that. But getting people to come online, getting people to come and shop with us, that's where we are discussing on the marketing. So Virginia, when you look around yourself, everybody's a consumer, everybody's a shopper, and out of them, few have started shopping online, and most of us haven't. How do you see that all this effort which is being done by all online retailers, do you really think that it's bringing in more and more people to really come and shop online? Yes, numbers look fantastic, right? Like if you were to say that till yesterday there were only 1 million people who were shopping online, and this year there are 7 million people who are doing it. But we are talking converting 1.2 billion, even if you leave half of India, which is doesn't have money, 500 million people to become online shoppers. Not for everything, but sometimes for some things. So number from 1 million to 7 million may look very, very good. But I don't think there's any reason that why that number shouldn't have been 70 million. Or 10 times of whatever it is today. So don't catch me on numbers, but why it is not 10 times. What is not right in the marketing of e-commerce that it is slower than, or the conversion is not faster than what it is?
So I'll give you 2 or 3 reasons that I see. The first and foremost is that we hang out at our own exclusive club of internet savvy or web savvy people. If you look at our own market intelligence, it comes from people who are naturally inclined to shop on web. It's our friends. And then our friends of friends are also web savvy. So one example of a company that I think has started to make the inroads is actually what Quicker is trying to do. So what Pranay Chalit is really trying to say is there are going to be X amount of people online that are going to buy and sell online. That's the 7 million. But through the missed call, I'm going to reach all those people that don't have any kind of way to get online, but have something to sell. They have a scooter, they have a sofa, and this is a mix of 2 types of people. These are a mix of people who have no access to the internet, and the other group of people who don't want access to the internet, like my mother, right? When I tried to get her on to Facebook, she said, but there are too many friends already that I have. I don't want any more friends. So she's kind of, she doesn't want to go there. So it's interesting to see what our industry will do to use things like missed calls, use things like spoken web where you can actually call and search, Yellow Pages on the phone, and how we use non-browser based, non-technology-centric ways to actually transact this virtual way, right? So are we creating a virtual marketplace without the web? And I think if we can do that through not m-commerce, right? So a lot of people think, oh, X number of people have mobile phones, and therefore we're going to create mobile-friendly commerce sites. I'm talking about, can I buy or sell something without having to click anywhere? Without having to have a credit card. So that's one. The second is that we need to really understand who are going to be the niche communities that will start a movement of commerce. So for example, you can see this change in buyer behavior, household incomes moving to women. What are we doing to actually empower certain segments, age groups, segments, psychographic profiles, become advocates for the medium because they have strong influence. So for example, one of the things that a broadcaster is doing is there's a lot of women that watch soap operas or these serials in the evening. While they're watching the sari on the show, right, are you enabling them to actually buy that sari or view that sari online? Are you connecting the TV viewing experience with what they want to buy, that jewelry, that set or that makeup? So these are people that are not traditionally thinking about going online to buy that sari, but can you connect these sort of viewing experiences so you have multi-screen experiences and sort of make it one seamless viewing experience, entertainment experience? So those are 2 examples where I think that can very easily expand the market without trying to convince people that they should love the internet.
No, very well said. I wouldn't have articulated it this way, but it sounds very obvious once you say it, that it's about that marketplace, new marketplace which we are talking, and internet is not necessarily the path to it. That's not only the place from where you can reach to this marketplace. Very well said. So Siddharth, on the same point, that how can e-commerce be marketed faster or better, right? Manish, I'll come to you as well, so please.
I'd like to touch on a point, very interestingly. I learned yesterday there are 12 million retail outlets or retailers in India. With your 7 million online shoppers, they won't even get one person to come on their store for the whole year if you only looked at the online population in India going to these 12 million stores, right? So it's 12 million stores. If I asked you to name, you could probably name more, but if I asked a normal person to name 12 e-commerce or online companies which they know of, people will have trouble naming 12 companies in India. So if you remove the top 12 that we know spend on TV and spend all over the place, and then you looked at the remainder, how many companies are there which is serving the rest of the country? Probably a handful, probably a couple of hundred. What will it take to bring this 12 million minus the 100 or 200 online into the mainstream so that people can come on and shop either offline or online without having to think whether it's online or offline. So I think that's one challenge. That sort of addresses that width issue and not that depth thing. The second thing is that when you're looking at online marketing, I think it's very closely integrated with product and products. So what products do you have in your store? And what is your experience of not just the online website, because I would advise people not to go and construct their own websites and so on and so forth, because you spend a lot of energy doing that, and the throughput, you could just go to a marketplace, or you could go to a standard platform and take a website, because then you're concentrating on the metrics and the analytics and not on building the site and making sure everything works, right? You should worry about what products you're going to put on that store, because what works offline may not work online and vice versa. And if you start to think of these things, I think that's when we can get more and more people to come and shop online. The final point I'd like to make in this sort of context is, if you look at online retail in India, we should also consider this free home delivery. Out of these 12 million outlets that we're talking about, probably 6 million do free home delivery to neighboring areas. How is that different from shopping online? How is that different? So Virginia made a point about, enabling phone, enabling missed call sales or whatever. How is that different? You need a thing, you pick up the phone, you don't have to go to a website, you pick up the phone, you say, this is what I need. Somebody delivers it to you in an hour's time, you pay him the money, cash on delivery, or he adds it to the khata. End of story. Why do you have to get this guy to go online? He doesn't need to, right? So I think we sometimes oversimplify or overcomplicate it. It doesn't happen in North America in the same way. So they need online e-commerce much more. A housewife normally in Bombay, she doesn't need e-commerce that much, because everything gets delivered to her house, all the groceries and everything else gets delivered in any case. So why should she have to go to groceries.com to buy it? So I think it's also about the needs, and I think we've got to really discover where the markets are.
So it's to do with, you are saying it's to do with the categories, it's to do with the customer type, and it's to do with probably when we talk about a global level, to do with the country also, that in India there are so many things which are already figured out, people are used to enjoying that, and they're not finding it any more differentiating. Even if you go on TV or if you do online song and dance, people are not finding it differentiating enough, right? Manish?
We've all heard that story of the golden egg and the chicken, and we used to give the golden egg every day, and you said कि एक ही साथ कर दे. In my opinion, I think in the last 2 years we've overdone a lot. Every industry needs a time to mature. Every person, human being, needs time to mature. I think we've done nothing less. The mistake is that we've overdone. So to answer your question, I don't think so there is anything that considering the maturity or considering the amount of years this industry has, so last 2-3 years since time funding has started coming in, there is nothing that we could have done or we can do to grow this industry or overgrow this industry. I think it will take its own time. It should be given its own time. We expected magic out of it to happen. I think a lot of things are happening to kind of make this industry very big. There is no need to have, there will be only top 10 players remaining in the industry, which is, we don't, even if you look at offline trade, we only know of the 5 big or 7 big or 10 big retail chains. That's it. Rest people don't need so much of marketing. भाई एक किराने की दुकान भी तो business करता है ना. So there'll be, if you look at online, there'll be the kirana stores online, there'll be big bazaars online. So the big bazaars nationally people will know. The kirana stores will keep on doing business, but they will need different kind of marketing. So in my, I think unfortunately we have overdone, and a lot is being done because of this overdone, that it will take its maturity steps over a period of time.
So while I agree with you, what you are saying, that every industry and every concept for that matter will take its own time. So I'm sure when cigarettes were launched in India, it took time for people to be weaned off their BDs and then move to cigarettes. I know it because my father tells me, was weaned off by offering free cigarettes in their small town back in Pakistan. And similarly on the toothpaste also, this is how some of these companies like Sibaka, they marketed and gave it free. So he doesn't find it at the age of 78 anything wrong with e-commerce companies offering discounts and sometimes offering free services and say, this is how it is done. And he's not a marketing guy. He is a consumer and he has experienced it all. So it will take time. But the trouble is, when you compare it with the offline retail, so whether it's a shopper stop promoted by a real estate giant called Rahejas, Reliance Retail promoted by Reliance, Trent Westside promoted by Tatas, More by Aditya Birla, and Bharti and Walmart, two of the biggest or the richest people in the world. So they have the patience to go on waiting for it. While in case of most of the e-commerce online retailers, we have funds or private equity funds or the venture capitalists or the angel investors who are sitting behind these. And I have seen in the last 2 years itself that how many of them have ran out of patience. So do we have the luxury? That's why I think it becomes a little bit more pressing for online retailing, because otherwise online retailing should have been very, very successful a few years back also. And I'm sure you guys can give me many reasons that why in 99 it didn't work and why it will work in 2013. But the point is, at the end of it, to use your Marwari phrases, and one of the ones I know, paise ka kaam to paisa hi karega. And the money is running out, and so many have folded up already because somewhere the investor had this expectation that the players will be, or the investors will be able to do it faster. That's why this 12 million should be enough, or 15 million should be enough, and it ran out and they burnt it in 12 months, and then they said no more money. It was not that they were fine, okay, 12 for the next 12 months and another 20 for the next 12. Some are getting, most are not. So I think there is a pressing need. So that's where this big question comes in, that how it should be marketed better so that it becomes far more effective and becomes faster. If you
No, so I think just to kind of very simply answer is that if you can't drive a Lamborghini and if you don't have enough money to put up afford the average or a mileage of a Lamborghini, don't drive a Lamborghini.
right.
So you should understand everyone cannot become the top 5 digital e-commerce players in the country. So now people, and they have missed their opportunities, or they have to disrupt it in a different way. So so they have to get settled by saying, okay, we can't become that. I mean,
Right.
they have to continue do marketing in a different way than not what Flipkart is doing or what Snapdeal is doing.
Right.
They have to do in a very.
So what
very
are those different ways? That's where I wanted
different
to come.
ways, I think, are I'm a little biased around it, but I think good product and technology, so that the conversions happen in the right. You are playing on the traffic to conversion ratios, and you're able to kind of convert your traffic well. Number one, good SEO. Number two, number three, good search engine marketing, right? Number four, so product, search engine optimization, search engine marketing, affiliate marketing. I think it is over the last 2 years, it has scaled up quite well. It's a very, very big way to kind of market your product. And finally, any other channel that you find out which kind of drives that maths works for you.
Right.
Whether it is
and which you can afford.
which you can afford.
Which you can afford, absolutely.
Let me just add to that.
Yeah.
I apologize, I'll have to leave soon. But from an engine perspective, that's true. But the role of a marketeer, what you just described is a classic discussion between a CEO and a CMO, which is I put in an X amount of money, we're not growing, what are you going to do differently? It's not necessarily going to be, I can't answer the question with more SEO, because you can say, there you go, it's wanting to spend more money. Number one is bringing the company back to what is the unique value proposition. And I think one of the mistakes that we make in marketing is we don't continue to challenge the business back to say, don't just give me you have a commerce site, go market XYZ product. We have to continue to push back to say, I will not spend any money on anything until there is something unique about Myntra or Flipkart that I have to go to market with over and over again. The second thing is you have to invest in building communities, because the only way of the future of growing the market is through social communities who will then organically carry your brand, carry the experiences, and market your brand for you. And third, and most importantly, is service, right? Marketing you can tell a good marketing organization where marketing feels like a service versus an interruption. Right now, all marketing by most people, online marketing, feels like an interruption. I go online to do something, something comes up, a flyer comes. It just feels intrusive and interruption. Marketing feels like a service when suddenly I get a relevant offer. I feel like it's personalized. It comes to me at the right time. I'm offered a free workshop for photography when I buy a camera. That doesn't feel like an interruption. So the question is, when will marketeers sort of figure out these three things, which is play a business role on challenging what is the value proposition, and doing these things. So the channels and the marketing mix will happen. You have people, you have agencies that will figure out the way to spend your money. As a marketeer, you have a different job working in that organization. You are not the proxy agency coordinator. You're not the person that spends the money. You have to be answerable to the business. So when I answer that question, it has to be on these three parameters. But I apologize. I will run, otherwise I will miss my flight. So this is an interruption. So I apologize, but thank you very much.
Ladies. Sorry, I think the mics aren't on, right? Your mics, okay, there we go. Yeah, just wanted to thank Virginia for coming down. Thank you so much, and thank IBM for powering this session. Sorry, the E-Tailing India Expo as well. And back to you guys. We've got about 5 more minutes for this session.
So I'll just pick on from where Virginia left. I think there is this concept of directional marketing and creative marketing. Creative marketing is when you're pushing things down throats of people, trying to grab their attention. Directional marketing is when people are ready to buy and they're looking for things, and that's when you come in and you make sure you are available or you show up at the right time. So, from an actual execution perspective, I think the right mix of creative and directional advertising is very, very critical, because the internet and online as a medium allows you to do directional marketing very, very effectively. So, Google AdWords, for instance, is really a form of directional advertising per se, because, you're trying to get the attention of somebody who's looking for something specific which is already specified, as opposed to, all kinds of banners that you see which is online. So I think getting the right mix with brand advertising and directional advertising can lead to some short-term gains, conversions. You've got to get your product right, because that's what people come, the experience right, and then analyze what works and do more of it, and do that parta and sort of what works for you. And if you're buying at 70 and selling at 60, it's not going to work no matter what you do. So you've got to get that basic sort of core of your business right, because it may be a short-term acquisition strategy, but then it's very fickle online, because people don't get acquired really. So it's not that you put them in a cage and they'll always come back to you. They always have the ability to go somewhere else where somebody else is offering for 60 what he bought at 70. So it's a losing proposition to my mind long term.
See, just to conclude our session, and we'll take a couple of questions if the MC thinks we have that much time. I'll just conclude and then come to you. See, that's where I started from, that marketing of e-commerce, and while the responsibility is falling on the heads of all these online retailers themselves, that first they sell the e-commerce idea, and then they have to market their own store, and then they have to market the products and do all the services and all the stuff which we are talking about. But if you look at if we have to take example from somewhere else, how the consumerism in general is being promoted by some of the other industries. So industries have their expos, industries now in their trade promotion organization, they have this big fair, their jewelry industry has their own fairs, and the consumers are invited. And the consumers are exposed to all those new ideas. So is there a possibility, even on the fashion side of it, where I work very, very closely with the government as well, and some of the associations like Clothing Manufacturer Association, what they do is they organize fairs consumers who are invited to come in, and that's how you promote. That's how we promote fashion. That's how we promoted ready-to-wear. That's how we promoted Western clothing. That's how we promoted different kind of fusion clothing for women. should we be talking about, and somebody from NASCOM or whosoever is the right association for this industry, shouldn't be thinking at an industry level that how do we bring e-commerce to the common man by bringing it on the street, by putting these kind of expos and the exhibition where people come and experience it, while we continue to sell more and more to the people who are already converted and who are already line, and we continue marketing to them. I think it will make a lot of sense to do some effort like that, and this will allow industry to grow even much faster. I've seen that happening in the case of fashion. I've seen that happening in case of electronics. I've seen that happening in case of jewelry. Why can't it happen in case of e-commerce as well? So I think I'll conclude with that, and we'll take two questions, one from here who raised their hand first, or whosoever is closer to the mic.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Hi. I'm Sushant from Galia Technologies, and we run a website called beyondtime.in. I have a question. I've always been wondering as to, what is the right proportion within the marketing, the overall frame of marketing. One key thing which we always keep hearing about is SEO, right? So what is the weightage one gives? And, while explaining what I'm really getting at, what you generally see is one, either you outsource the activity, to an expert, and all these experts promise you, within 3 months you'll be on the first page. Now, let's take an example which we are into electronics. So if there are 100 electronic websites in India, and all these guys are promising you first page for the certain product, it ain't happening, right? So that's one part of it. And do you really need to work on it as much as what people make it out to be? Because you hear that as one of the biggest things in the industry. And, or your core focus ought to be in terms of getting exactly to people visiting your site and not going through the search.
A very simple question. I mean, a lot of people do it a different way. We numerically delivered SEO, not delivered, we asked our SEO guys to deliver it very, very numerically. There was a cost to traffic that we placed for SEO. I mean, SEO is traditionally looked at first page ranking and this ranking. We said nothing doing. We don't know whether you put it in the last page or the first page or the third link or the fifth link. We're not bothered about that. Tell us how many visits are you giving me, and then I'll find out how much conversion I'm getting from that. That's exactly how we monitored our SEO. I think that's the right way. Forget these pages, etc.
So one more question. I think there was somebody over here.
Wouldn't most of it be considered a waste? Most of the advertising of these niche portals?
The niche portals who are advertising on the mainline media, like TV, while there are very few people online, so that's a question.
Yes and no. I mean, the answer is both. See, till the time they are getting their conversion metrics right, till the time they are getting their CPAs right, and they are making money out of every transaction, it's not a waste. On television, like I said, there are very different objectives for one to advertise. And if they would have, I don't know if they've gone on television or any niche site, should they go or not go? I mean, that's a very subjective comment to make. But yes, on online advertising, I would say that I'm sure if anyone advertising, he or she would have figured out what are their cost of transaction coming out of every traffic which is being driven from online. So shouldn't be a waste. Shouldn't be a waste.
So thank you, friends, for being a patient audience.
Actually, we just have one question here from Twitter, if you could answer that. So from Happy
What are
Camper.
the key factors which turn browsers into customers?
So window shoppers, yeah.
Right. So Siddharth?
To try and answer that in 60 seconds is possibly almost impossible. No, 40 seconds, all right. But I think it's to do with understanding the audience of your site and preparing the experience of the site, which gets people to take that next step and makes it easy for them to take that next step. And if they take a misstep, you should be able to step in to help them take that next step. And I think, that's the easiest I can do in 40 seconds, but it's a